So group 2, right? You guys, whenever you're ready. Verify that the audio works.
How do I get to our presentation?
You go to your name, and then you scroll down to your name, and then you got it. Keep going. Check. I don't even look at
We could have
these.
so much fun with that. If I'd only discovered it sooner. But no for next year. I won't be in this room next year. Once a year. I'll be in this room next Thursday.
Yeah.
Unless they change it. Well, they may change this year, but.
Can I look at both of them? Yeah. Hold on. You wanna? Oh, we could use this. Yeah, we could do that. There you go. Awesome. All right, so we are going nuts. It is not ethically made, it is epically made. Let's go.
All right. So a recap: we're doing like a nut and bolt maze. The idea is you like screw the bolt on, follow the maze to figure out. It's a STEM toy puzzle, and we will be using a VF1 mill, which is a 4-axis mill, and we'll be getting 2 of those and a compressor to machine our part.
So for our location, we have this really nice building. It is 2,800 square feet. It is in Portland, Oregon. We chose there because it's really close to the ports on the West Coast. Also, there's really high quality of life, so our workers will not be seasonally depressed. We also have a really low minimum wage, so that was a really good factor.
Our location is
You
also
want them to be depressed because they're not paying much.
True.
the location is also next to an anodizing plant, which is good because we will be anodizing all of our parts, which means we can give them different colors. So the material for part is aluminum 6061 stock, 2-inch diameter. So it's going to cost around $10.50 per product, and then $4 for anodizing per part. It was $162K for the 2 mills, another $5K for compressed air. We'll have 5 employees, so about to $200,000 in labor, and RC has a 6.6 corporate tax on our profits. The building was $700K, and a property tax and operating cost of $3,200. And then for our packaging and shipping, it'll be about $8 per part, and we'll have a hand forklift and a big crate to move stuff around. So that's good. And then for tooling, it'll be about $12,500 per year, assuming about 1 broken part per day.
So for our profit projections, we have a really competitive price of $50. This is like the lowest end you're going to see on the market for one of these toys. But it's still really good for us because these are very easy to make. You can make it will take 10 minutes to make one. So we're looking to make like 150 in a day and around $7,500 per day, roughly. So we're actually going to make our profits back just over a little over a year. So that'll be pretty big because it'll only take us 386 days to break even. We won't be negative for the second year, and we could actually start to see our profits grow and maybe even look into expansion by year 3 or 4.
Yeah, the price of our first part was a bit over $1 million.
Yep.
Okay. It's on one of the slides.
Yep. Any questions?
Group 1.
Thank you.
All right, we are Switch Click. We are the We are Switch Click. We are the fidget toy derived from the mechanical keyboards. We found a company name, and so, what's going on? If I zoom out, I'm just gonna reload the page a bit.
Yeah, we're making a fidget cube that's based off of mechanical keyboard parts. Never mind, we're back.
Yes. Okay. So, how much will tooling and materials cost? So we're getting a injection molding machine. This is from that one in the top right, from Xometry. It's a KW138S, and it's like pretty small, so which is why it costs $20,000. And the molds will be like $5,000 per mold, and they last around like 100,000 cycles. And then the plastic we'll be using is ABS, which is very, very cheap, so we can get a ton of it. And it's, yeah.
I don't know how we missed that, but we all missed this, but we also have a robotic arm to help with assembly. That's about $30,000. All that does is actually help us take apart some of the boxes and get the pieces loaded in front of the person who will be assembling them.
Yep. So labor cost and location will be located in Worcester County, Massachusetts. Massachusetts has good, union labor protections, and lots of manufacturing happens in Massachusetts. And because it's right side of like the main city in Boston, it makes it easy for like shipping. There's a city nearby, so there's a lot of electronic sort of companies around. And working outside of Boston is cheaper, especially when it comes to rent and stuff like that. For the salaries, each of our workers will be making $30 an hour, so that's $60,000 for the whole year. We'll give them health insurance, and that totals up to $228,000. So the cost to make the first item, we have $100 for hard candy, preferably Starburst, just as much as $100 of Starburst would give us. We have the automated labeling machine, which is $500, and the injection molding, like we said before, is $20,000. And then we have the robotic arms. Combined with the first month rent and the electricity bill, this all comes out to $52,000 for the first, up to making the first part.
The price point to make each product is going to be $4.12. I won't bore you all, but the vast majority of the cost comes from the switches and caps, which we'll be buying from another vendor. Then actually most of the other cost isn't even the plastic center, which we're machining. It will instead be the boxes and the bubble wrap and the labeling and all that stuff. We believe that we can sell these for $8 a piece. Our closest competitor is selling them for $12, so we can undercut them by 30%. And we also believe that based on the market, we can sell about 100,000 a year. Last year, I think 40,000 of these were sold. And if we lower our price to that much, we can definitely sell a lot more. Now, the important question, how long will it take us to break even? Well, we have a bowl of hard candies at the front, which we all know is the most important part of any production system. At $500 for a label maker, the injection molding machine, robotic arm, electricity bill, rent for a pretty small space. We believe that we can actually do this with about 1,000, even maybe 2,000 square feet in Worcester. $1,500 or $15,000 salaried. And then at the end of it, we will have $29,000 in net yearly profits after taxes, $290,000, sorry. And we will break even in the 5th quarter of the first year. And actually, if we increased our price by just $1 more, we could be breaking even within the 3rd quarter. That's it.
I actually really like the fact that you guys talk about benefits for the employees in your calculation. As a rule of thumb, I'm missing one of these. Oh, there it is. Found it.
As a rule of thumb, when we estimate labor costs like that, we typically will just double whatever the hourly rate is or the salary is. So if you're going to pay somebody, say you're going to pay somebody $60,000 a year, if you want to figure out how much it's going to cost you to do that, you just budget for $120,000 because what you missed is taxes. In your I didn't see it, or you didn't talk about it.
We didn't talk about it.
Yeah, got it, but it was there. Yeah, because the employer also contributes to the tax. So whatever you pay for your federal taxes, your employer pays an equal amount. So, or they pay half of your taxes, something like that. So that's something to think about. But great, thanks everybody. This is the first time we ever did the projects this way. Every other time I've done this project, it's been hand in a report, which is boring for me to grade. And there's big variations in the quality of the reports. And so this was fun for me. I actually learned a lot by watching your final presentations in how to phrase the assignment next time. To make sure that people focus on exactly the things I want people to focus on. But since I hadn't given you much instructions, it can't count against you this time. So those were really great. I think all the groups did a good job. And next up, first, there's I don't know if that actually ever captures anybody's voice when they're talking from the classroom. But first up, there's 2 questions that have pictures that the pictures don't work. Yeah, just skip those questions. I can't fix it after the fact. It's a feature, right? If they put it in the manual, it's a feature, not a bug, right? It's a feature of Canvas that does not let you edit the question once a student has seen the question. So I can go, actually, it's not true. I can edit the question all I want to. Once a student has seen the question, they will never be shown the edited version, only the version they first saw. That's a feature to make it, I don't know why it's a feature, but it is. I need keyboard. So beyond that, what questions do we have? Go ahead.
What was art to part?
Art to part. That's the process. Everything included in the process. Let me do. That is everything included in the process of going from the drawing to the finished part. So all the steps between the drawing and the finished part is what I call art to part. And I guess I didn't emphasize that when we talked about it in class. It was the title of one of the lectures, though. That gives you enough information? Okay. What's the next question? Yeah. How do you calculate surface speed? So when we talk about, and this was from like the first week or the second week, when we talk about surface speed, that's the speed that the cutting edge of the tool is moving through the workpiece, right? So what's that going to depend on? Yep. So it's going to depend on the speed that it's spinning. So if this is our tool, let's say we're laying down in the milling machine. Again, I recommend don't do this at home. Trained professional. But if we're laying down in the milling machine and we're looking up at the tool, so maybe it's got a couple flutes on it, 3 flutes here. So the cutting edge of the tool, it depends on what direction the tool's moving through the workpiece, right? So if you're moving sideways through the workpiece, then the cutting edge is out here at the circumference of the tool. And so it's the speed of that as it's rotating around. So you need to know the diameter of the tool and the RPM, and then you can calculate what's the speed at the surface. Now, if we're cutting downward with this tool, the surface speed changes depending on where you are along the cutting edge, right? So if the bottom flute is what's doing the cutting instead of the side flutes, what's the surface speed at the exact center? Has to be 0, right? Because there's no radius. And so that may be the question you were hung up on. Nope. Okay. What else? Any other questions? Yep. If you need to know the material, it should tell you in the question. Do you have a specific question? Yeah, I don't think it mattered what the material was if it didn't say what the material was. It shouldn't have mattered. Any other questions? You're a real lively bunch today. Oh, there you go. Could you state the question again?
It says the two most important things in manufacturing are you talking about lean manufacturing?
Lean manufacturing is designed to promote those two most important things, but whether you're using lean manufacturing or not, it's the same. What's important in manufacturing should be the same regardless of whether or not you're using lean. So yes and no. Yep.
There's a question about CAM programs, and one of the options is sometimes like used.
Process variables. Or it's also that I called it either process variables or independent variables, the things we choose. Any other questions? I'm guessing the person who handed it in first and had 10 out of 10 points was just really good at guessing on the question that didn't have the pictures. That's, yeah. If you didn't have the pictures, just skip the question. I'm going to give everybody credit for those questions. Any other questions? Yep.
Very unimportant, but can we hear about Heroin Kid?
Oh, I did promise that if we had time at the end of class, we'd talk about Heroin Kid. Do you remember the lecture where we talked about surface metrology? Actually, I should preface this. First day of lab. It was C term. It was definitely C term. It was winter. First day of lab. This kid shows up at the door with sandals on. And I said, "Hey, did you take the lab safety quiz?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "You don't have shoes on." And he said, "I don't own any shoes." And I said, "You need to go find some." And he left and he came back like 10 minutes later with a pair of sneakers on. And I was like, "You went and bought some shoes?" He said, "No, they're my roommates." So that was my introduction to him. I didn't name him yet. We were doing the lecture on surface metrology. And it was actually in this classroom, but at the other end of the building. So that end, the mirror of this classroom. And when we started measuring surfaces, we started with microscopes. I think I said this, and you'd vary the focal depth, and then you'd count the number of spots that were in focus to decide how much of the surface was at that height. And that drastically changed in the 1930s. And so I asked, I think there was some electrical engineers in the class that time, and I said, "Hey, what big thing happened in the 1930s?" No, that's what I should have said. What I said was, what was different between now and the 1930s? And what I wanted somebody to say was that was when we started using RC circuits. And if you use an RC circuit, you can figure out the signal and you can have it output like a number on a machine by dragging that record player needle across the thing. But what Heroin Kid, he was sitting roughly there. You could have been him. He said, you could buy heroin at the drugstore. And so after that, throughout the class, he was Heroin Kid. Because he knew that bit of trivia about the 1930s. I do tend to remember people by their project and the nickname that I assign to them, usually because of their project. So when somebody says, oh, so-and-so goes to WPI, do you know them? Maybe. What project did they work on? And then I can usually remember. They always say you have to be really, really good or really, really bad for me to remember your name. Any other questions? I can answer life questions too. Yes.
Will you be remembering Pryor for his shirts?
I probably will see Pryor and remember that I should remember him. And I'll remember that it had something to do with something. And I go ahead.
For heroin, you said you remember the based on a project, so was his project heroin?
No, he was, it was, I said usually the nicknames are based on the project. For example, there was Tuning Fork Girl. She was a girl. She was making a tuning fork. Yes. No. No, all of you. How? I mean, I could call Pryor the shirt kid, but that wouldn't be nearly as fun as just remembering his name, right? So no, I haven't really assigned any good nicknames lately. And they're private to me. I don't usually tell people what their nickname is. Any other questions? Was the lectures or the labs better? So were the lectures better than the labs? Really? Stand up if you think the lecture. No, stay sitting if you think the lectures were better than the labs. Lazy people, right? Well, I wanted it to be not fair. About half and half. I told the PLAs that I was going to beat them this time. So, so all of you that thought that the lectures were better than the labs, make sure you fill out the course evaluation forms and make sure you say that on the course evaluation forms. And if you thought the labs were better than the lectures, don't bother. So I can win statistically. Any other questions? Who's a senior? Who's going to graduate this year? A few of you? I have some life advice for you. Live like a student for as long as you can stand it. Don't go out buy a new car. Don't go get a fancy apartment. Have roommates. Live as cheap as you can for as long as you can stand it. But then the moment you can't stand it anymore, grow up. But that'll help you and save money, pay off your student loans, all that stuff. Do that early. Don't wait. That's my life advice. Don't buy a house. Even if you really want to buy a house, don't go buy a house. Unless it's a rental property and you're going to rent it to other people, then buy all the houses you want. Oh, because my computer went to sleep, which is weird. Oh, I know why the computer went to sleep, because I wasn't using it. Usually it doesn't go to sleep that fast. But I think we're good. Any other questions? All right, then. I had a lot of fun this term. I hope you guys had some fun, too. I hope you learned something. What anybody want to say what the most valuable thing you learned this term was? Yes. How to use the machine tools in Washburn. I agree that's valuable, especially if you're working on a project where you're going to need to use them in the future. Anything else valuable? No? Nobody learned how to solve differential equations or anything? It didn't have to be the most valuable thing you learned in this class. All right.
Say what not to say to the cranky old machinist.
What not to say to the cranky old machinist? Yeah. Well, unless you want to get them all riled up. Sometimes you can do it on purpose. All right. Thanks very much.